Good morning, happy Sabbath all. Amen. Would you please stand with me as we read from the Word? Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. And after he had dismissed the crowd, he went up the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But by this time, the boat, battered by the waves, was far from the land, for the wind was against them. And early in the morning, he came walking towards them on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "Is it a ghost?" And they cried out in fear. But immediately, Jesus spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat, started walking on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he had noticed the strong wind, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." The word of God. Please be seated. Interesting story about Jesus in the Matthean community. I listen to the story and I begin to think and process some things about life and about living through storms. Often we like to get to the destination of things. We want to get to the calm, and let's get back in the boat and let's worship Jesus because of the destination we're at. And in so doing, in our world today, we miss out on the process of living in and being present for our storms. I believe that deep inside all of us, somewhere, we hope that when we choose to follow God, God would somehow create a sheltering from the stormy seasons. Like Jesus, okay, I'm following you now, so put me in a bubble wrap of your protection. Protect me in my finances. Protect me in my education. God, I want you to keep my relationships safe and my children, make them normal, Lord. And God, bless me. And when we say by bless, what we mean by that is don't make things difficult for me. I want to have a smooth ride through life, Lord. I want to get to the destination where the fruits are, where the product is full and complete, Lord. Take me there. Don't make it too hard. And while you take me there on the easy track, also, God, at the same time, create a right character in me. We want God to take care of the difficult storms so that we don't have to deal with the threshing of those storms. And also for God to magically make our characters grow. We want to have a spiritual experience that is that of slow cooking. But we want the process to be microwaved. God, get me to the immediate end. And while you super fast track me, go ahead and put my life together for me. In the book of Romans, Paul addresses this. He says, but we also glory in our suffering because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces, somebody help me, character. And character produces hope. Everybody say hope. 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 Paul and the community is going through massive persecution. They're having storm after storm. It's a difficult life. And then Paul says, but check it out, we will glory in our sufferings because we know that through these moments will be perseverance, and perseverance will beget character, and character hope, and hope will not fail. Paul says, slow cook me, God, that my character might be mature and beautiful and fabulous in the process. Being present means embracing all of seasons, all the different seasons of our life, both in the struggle and in the peace. It means not just getting our hoped for destinations, but also engaging all the challenging ones along the way. If you're in a challenging or stormy season right now, it's okay. Be present there. God is with you. 1980s. I was young back then as a kid. And in the 1980s, we lived differently than we do today. If you lived in the 1980s, you knew how different it was. People were hitchhiking for no reason. Dangerous day, nobody hitchhikes. If you see a hitchhiker, don't pick them up, they'll kill you. That's what we say today. In the 1980s, it was fine. Everybody was hitchhiking around. In the 1980s, people would send their kids out to buy cigarettes and lottery tickets. This is the 1980s. We learned a lot since then. We've matured as a community, as a society. In the 1980s, we didn't wear seatbelts. Seatbelts wasn't a thing. I mentioned that to my son this morning. He says, "Dad, you didn't wear seatbelts?" I said, "Yeah, son." He says, "You broke the rule. You're a pastor." I said, "It wasn't a law back then, son. We weren't breaking no, we just didn't wear seatbelts." Then we learned maybe we should wear seatbelts, so we made it a rule. In the 1980s, you could ride, I don't know if anybody remembers this, you could ride in the back of trucks. You just jump in the back of somebody's truck and they will drive up onto the freeway and just drive at the speed they're driving at, and you're just hanging out the back. That was normal. If you saw it in the 1980s, you were like, "Hey, I'm riding in the back next time." In the 1980s, first big trip, family trip that I remember, my dad said, "Hey," we were living down in LA. He says, "Hey, we're gonna go to Magic Mountain." Up to that point in my life, I'd only seen these commercials about this Magic Mountain place where the roller coasters were Colossus, where there were kids and they were frolicking and they were eating all kinds of things. And I said, "This is what I wanna do with my life. Father, you love us." And so he said, "This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna all get inside of this truck." And me and mom and my sister Linda was real small, so she got to sit in the front. And then in the back of the truck, you, Rolando, and Eva, y'all will just lay down in the back. And we will drive from LA up to near Santa Clarita where Magic Mountain is. And my dad, at all ages, at any time, only drives like 45 miles an hour. So this trip was gonna be like a 9-day trip for us. We get, but nobody cares. You're going to Magic Mountain. We get in the car, and I'm in the middle because my sister and my brother, they're firstborn type people. They're very, they know what they want, and they're outgoing, and so I was the little one between. So they said, "You get in the middle." In the 1980s, I was really young, and I just took up a lot of space. I was the fat one of us. Don't worry, I was cute. But I was beefy. And I would be in the middle, and then my brother, who was athletic build, was on one side, and my sister was athletic build on one side, and my dad said, "Lay down, okay?" Because my dad is real, "Lay down, guys." And then we weren't listening, so my mom, who communicates with a stronger tense, puts her head out the window and says, "Lay down, or I will climb back there, and I will make you lay down." And we all just laid down. And so we began this trek up to Magic Mountain. And as we begin to go, I've got two firstborn type human beings on each side who had to control the bed of the truck. This is the known universe for us three. And they begin to argue. So they begin to start slapping each other. But I was so round, they were just hitting me. I'm getting beat in the middle, and then turn to the left, and I turn to the right. I'm turning to turn around. And so at one point I was laying down, facing the truck bed, because they were going at it. And this was the worst experience in my life. It was hot, had to be at least 190 degrees outside. The back of a truck, it's like frying bacon. Not that you would know. And as we're going up to Magic Mountain, it's a horrific ride. I'm getting hit from both sides, and they're yelling in my ears. And I'm just thinking, it's gonna be worth the trip to Magic Mountain. Please, let it be worth it. Please let Jesus be at the gates. Let us in and we can eat as much cotton candy as possible. And the trip just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And then at one point, these big semis are moving up this freeway too. And I'm looking at them and these big burly human beings with beards just, and my brother looks at one when he passes by and the guy looks at him and my brother goes, and it's no, they're gonna kill us. Why, Rolando? He goes, and the truck goes like that. And then my brother throws his hand up in the air and I was like, no, don't do it, Rolando. They'll run us off the road. And then he fists them and then he goes, I had never seen that action before in my life. And I'm like, you double fist pumped him? That man is gonna kill. And then all of a sudden, brrr. I said, what is that? What kind of magical powers is in your hand? Another truck goes by, my brother looks up, he goes, and the goes, brrr. And now my sister looks up and she catches on. So she looks the other way, and they're going, brrr. And I'm like, what is happening right now? So for the next few miles, we're hanging out the back doing this. And trucks around my dad, who has no idea what's happening. This sweet little man's driving, brrr, brrr, and he's like, oh, wait, what's happening? They're tooting us. My mom looks at the back and she sees us hanging off the back. She puts the window up, hey, you better stop that or I will climb back there. And I said, I hear you, Mom. My brother looks at my mom and he goes, brrr. Mama said, what is that? For the rest of the trip, the family is booping every truck that passes by. We have the most amazing, we get to Magic Mountain. We pull up to pay for the parking. The attendant says, hey, this is gonna cost this much. My dad looks at the attendant and says, oh, you have to pay to get in here? Hold on a second. We just drove like 12 days, Dad. Seriously? He's like, oh, how much is it? And the attendant tells him the price. He goes, oh. Okay, well, we going home now. He starts backing up. There's a line of cars. He's like, I'm coming back. If y'all could just move this, I'm coming back. And then we pull away from Magic Mountain, and it was like as if you almost got to heaven. And you get sucked back into your real life. No. What a horrible, hey, don't do that to your kids. But you know what? I learned something that day. The most beautiful, amazing experience wasn't waiting at the destination of Magic Mountain. It was the journey to get there and back. We had learned that when we got back, all we needed was to have these moments together. That by living in our experiences, it didn't matter that we made it into the gates. We had the most amazing time. And I think sometimes in life, we are distracted by a world around us that is so accessible that we want to get to a destination. God, I want you to bless me because if you bless me, I'll be happy with this. Or if you bless me, I'll be happy with that. Or if you just give me this, God. And God says, hey, take the moment by moment experiences and be present. Be present in the good, be present in the difficult, be present in the suffering, be present in the sick, be present for it all, because that journey is much more profoundly beautiful than any destination could be. These disciples in our pericope this morning is facing a major storm. Jesus, the word says, Jesus made them go. Jesus literally made them go. The context of this starts earlier. John the Baptist was under Herod's imprisonment. Herod wanted to kill him, but John the Baptist had too many followers. So he was afraid of John the Baptist. Then John the Baptist gets beheaded. The disciples take his body. The followers are mourning. They go bury him. Jesus is hurt. Jesus goes to a secluded place where he can be alone. And then all of a sudden, a crowd of people come to Jesus. And there they are. What do you suppose they were doing there? Well, they had just lost John the Baptist. They were in pain. They were going through a storm. And the disciples say, send these people away. And Jesus says, no, we must be present in their pain. Let us be present together. And so they stayed with them. But for whatever reason, Jesus thought it was time for them to move on. And so he tells the disciples, go. He made them get in the boat and go. And he closes out his time with the people. Maybe the disciples were being toxic to the people. Maybe they were talking about making more disciples, but every time they said hello to someone, they were just rude. Have you ever run into a church member that made you not want to go to church? Right? I love the Lord, but you the Lord does not love. They may not say that out, but you've been to places where you feel the tangible, the cold, rigid experience of religiosity without the deep love of God. Praise God for La Sierra University Church, where we believe in going deep and wide with people. Yes. If you're visiting to La Sierra University Church, welcome to our amazing group of human beings. I hope that you were greeted today. Jesus sends these guys away, and they go, and he goes up the mountain. And in the Matthean community, going up a mountain has a very sacred connotation. It reminds them of Moses. When Moses went up the mountain in solitude to be with God, Jesus is going to this place. And so now he's having this divine, sacred experience with the Father, with God. He's there. And he sees the disciples from a distance, and they're struggling in the storm. They have just been overwhelmed by the storm of a loss of someone important in their community, and to him, a first cousin, a relative, someone blood. There's a lot of pain there. So he sits in presence with these thousands of people, feeding them, caring for them. And now again, he sees another storm, a physical storm, far off in the distance, and he begins to make his way towards the disciples. When he gets there, the deep waters of the biblical world is a scary place. The deep waters is where Leviathan comes from. It's where they believe that the demons come from. This is where ghosts are. And so the deep sea, not the desert or not the wilderness, it's the deep sea that frightens the biblical people. So these disciples, they see Jesus from a distance, and he's on the deep sea. The Matthean author here does something fantastic. He juxtaposes two ideas for the community, and they pick up on it. We may not readily pick up on it, but they pick up on it. The first is, this is a deep sea situation, and the disciples said, hey, it's a ghost. Of course, because that's where ghosts and demons and leviathans come from. That's where the beasts of the deep come from the deep sea. So yes, that is a frightening thing to see this figure on the distance, but also, as part of their deep tradition, this community knows the story of their people. They recall another time when God is hovering above the waters, where the waters, these dark, deep waters, was chaotic. The Hebrew word tohu vavohu, chaotic waters. God hovers among the chaos and begins to bring life about. So they hear these two juxtapositioned ideas. One, that the disciples see a ghost, makes complete cultural sense. And two, they remember a hovering, because the author points that it is Jesus. And so they begin to make these big, beautiful connections. Jesus hovering over the water was a signal for divine authority and also a signal of hope. That even in the chaotic waters, God has not left. Even in our chaotic world, even in our suffering, even in our challenges, even in the obstacles we are currently going through, the hope here is that God has not left us. Turn to someone and say, God hasn't left you. Make that proclamation to somebody else. God hasn't left you. If you've come into this place crawling, just barely making it in, thinking to yourself, I can't make it through another day, I hope you hear, even in the depth of your storm, in that chaotic tohu vavohu, that you know God has not left you. God is near. He's near to your experience. He's near to your pain. He's near to your challenges. And so Jesus was present with these disciples in the stormy, chaotic waters. The storm hadn't calmed yet, but it doesn't need to be calm because God was there with them. That is the good news, that God is with you. God's presence calls us to be present with him in the chaos, and just as well as being present with ourselves in the chaos. So Jesus calls out and says, take courage, it is I, it is me, do not be afraid. Ego eimi is the Greek here. It also can be translated, I am, as the words of found in the book of Exodus when God talks to Moses. So the Methian community picks up on that again. They hear it. They hear again, oh, do you remember when there was so much chaos of suffering, of enslavement? These people who had gone through it 100 years. What did God say to Moses? I have heard the cries of my people. I am. Do not be afraid. In the chaotic season of enslavement and loss of children, God proclaims to Moses, I have heard because I am near. God is near. When Jesus says, I am, he's assuring the disciples and us today that the God who has always been present over the waters of chaos is right here with us in our darkest and most frightening moments. And that's not just metaphorical. It's happening around us today. In Gaza, where families live daily amid war, displacement, and uncertainty. In Ukraine, where leaders are standing firm amid geopolitical tensions as they hope to continue and keep their land. Every week when families are struggling for food insecurity and they show up right here in our amazing Food Pantry Plus and all of our amazing volunteers cares for them. By the way, if you want to volunteer at our Food Pantry Plus, go ahead and do so. Somebody say amen. There's good work happening there. It's true for our single parent in our community, juggling bills and meals. It's true for those of us dealing with financial issues. It's true for those of us who are going through life transitions. It's true for the quiet storms no one else sees. The ones in our minds and in our bodies and in our hearts. But this passage reminds us that God does not abandon us in our storm. The God who hovered over the waters at creation, who declared, I am to Moses to lead for an exodus, and who walked on the waves with the disciples, that God is present even in today's storms. No matter how fierce or far-reaching the chaos, God is near. So, in the midst of the storm, Peter says, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come. So Peter got out of the boat, started walking on the water, and came to Jesus. Peter steps out into the waters, and the story doesn't recall that the storm got louder or more fierce. The storm didn't change any. What had changed was Peter's position to God. So he steps out, and while the storm didn't get any crazier, Peter's focus lost way. And the word says he began to sink. He calls out for Jesus, and Jesus reaches down. May I suggest today that Peter's sinking is not a signal that he was failing. Sometimes when we look at people's life and it looks like they're sinking, we like to think, oh, that's because they're failing. Peter was not failing while he was sinking because Peter was already tethered to Jesus. Peter was on his way out on some, listen, I'll tell you what, if Jesus showed up today and said, Icky, walk out to me in the water, I would not do that. I wouldn't do it. But Peter, already tethered to Christ, trusted that if he walked out there in his experience, miraculous experience of walking on water, and his difficult suffering experience of sinking, in either way, he was near Jesus. Let's give Peter a break. He was in the middle of all of it. He was present to it. And Jesus touched his life. And I'm sure the disciples in the boat were making fun of him. Look at that foolish Peter. Look at him. He deserves to sink. What a big mouth. He's trying to get out there and do some stuff. But to this day, there's only one who gets to tell the story of walking on water to Jesus. To sink is not to fail if one is sinking near Jesus. My son and daughter were indoctrinated into the world of, I don't know. I think it's the world of Satan, but I think they call it Disneyland is what they call it, really. At an early age. My wife is a longtime fan, and I love her, so I love Disney. And we went, but when my kids were young, I'd always put them down. Whenever they could start walking, I'd put them down, and I let them move. And then so I started using that. Have you all ever used that leash with your children? And my wife and some of our family were like, they're animals. Why would you treat them? What'd you put them on a leash for? I said, because they're animals. But really, because I want them to be able to move around, but stay near my parameter, my circumference. And so I put these leashes on them, and I let them roam as far as they can, and they would get all the way out about 2 feet, and then I'd pull them back in. And at Disneyland, I said, we're gonna leash them up and let them go. My wife said, it's such a big place, there's so many people. I said, don't worry, they know not to get too far away. I got them on the leash. She said, are you sure? I said, sure. And so I put them on the leash, and sure enough, Michaela took hers off and started going off. I said, you're gonna be a bad one, you are. Keep an eye on you. Leo loved to be tethered. He, keep it on me, Daddy, at all times, and don't let the other side go. So if I put that thing down, that boy would pick it up and come give it to me. Hey, you forgot me behind, bro. Take this. So I keep it on me at all times, right? And we're walking around Disneyland, and he's, as long as we're tethered together and he's close by, he's strong, confident, good. But if anyone touched that leash that wasn't my wife or I, it was like, no, the world is ending. And there were some places where, you want to take pictures with characters. And we wanted them to just be in the picture. Here, show this. So we gave it to one of the cuddly, and Chip was like, I don't know. I'm doing my thing. They were trying to smile and play with her, like, don't touch me. You animal. You're gonna steal me and kill me. Look at Michaela. She's like, hey, when are we going after this? Where are we going? Right? Michaela, but Leo, no. And so we couldn't get a good picture. I love this picture. As soon as I took that little tether back, he's like, I'm ready to go. There's something about the beautiful trust to being tethered to the one that you know who will never leave your side. Oh, to be tethered to God. This is Peter. This is Peter in Peter's walk. He's out on the water. Yeah, he's gonna sink, but he knows he's tethered to the one he can trust. He's tethered to the one who loves him. He's tethered to the one who will not let him go. And so Peter doesn't fail because he sinks. Peter is present to his experience. When we are tethered, and we know our tethering to be to the one who is and was and is to come. The one whose love is so deep and profound that he would not allow anything to separate us from him. When we are trusted in that tethering, we can do beautiful and amazing things. To be tethered. He knew that no matter what was going on, as long as he was tethered to me or to Mom, that eventually something will work out. For a moment, he felt disconnected and unsafe. And even though he was still tethered, he knew he was tethered to the wrong person. That reminded me just how vital it is to be connected and to feel connected to a place and to a one that we trust. This last week, we've only done this a couple weeks. We requested of our church, would you help us out? We've got a community of families over here that have 61 kids that will be starting school in the fall. A handful of those kids who are living in that assisted living area in the community there are going to college. We've got one foster kids shelter. It's a shelter. It's not a foster home. It's a shelter where they just gather as many kids as they can so that they have sheltering. We had about 47 of them that are going to be starting school in the fall that need backpacks. And so we made the ask, hey, would you all gather together? Could we gather a few backpacks, please? And we were hoping that we would get 40 or 50. And we said, hey, we need 105, even though we didn't quite need that, but we lied to you. Yes, we did. Church, you showed up. We had almost 200 backpacks and counting. Let me say that again, because I'm too excited. Church, you showed up. Yes. We had almost 200 backpacks were coming from all over the place. I came home, and Jackie had left backpacks in my front yard. I was like, hey, they're growing on trees. Y'all were bringing them into the office. We had a beautiful donor, one of our families here, gave 60 backpacks. We had a party here. Here's a couple of pictures here. I want to show you. This is us packing out Wednesday night. You showed up. I had no idea who was going to show up. We didn't make a big push for that. This was a kind of a last minute thing. Sasha organized it, put it together. Y'all showed up. People came. And every backpack that was filled gave a new dream for a student who will carry it because school starts on Monday for them. Here's another picture. Just people who came and left. We took a group picture of everyone. Lisa Walker, our member, the Walker family, who also is our connection to the foster family's care and to the county shelter. She came because she just wanted to help make the backpacks. So since she was here, I said, do you want to take backpacks already? So next picture, we filled her car to the brim. To the brim. That picture on your right, no, that's my car. I'll tell you, go back one. It's embarrassing. This is a nicer car, much nicer than mine. She takes a picture the next day. She was pulling it in that morning to the county. And if you can look the back there, that gentleman's one of the supervisors. They were blown away. They were not expecting all that. Okay, now you can show my ugly car. This was my car when I took it to De La Vista. Look at this thing. There is backpacks from the very back to the front of my car. It was so packed, no one could ride in my car. The next day, when I took it to the actual Vista de la Sierra, I took the kids with me to help unload. So this next picture, I'll show you how we had to do it. Elijah was living in the 1980s with no seatbelt. Look at the big smile. I said, are you okay? He's like, oh, I'm scared, Uncle. I said, don't worry, I'll drive real slow through the neighborhood. And then we didn't have any room, so I had to put my daughter and Leo, Michaela and Leo's riding on the bike behind us. They're trailing us like they're chasing us like a crime scene. We get there and we get to unload all these backpacks. In every backpack I pull, I think, wow, here's another dream. The church created another reality of a dream for a student. Here's another dream being made a reality for these students. In their suffering, we get to be present with them and create a tether for them, not just to this community, but hopefully to a loving God who cares about the plans of their lives. She videoed a couple people saying a couple things, so if you would just play that next one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Here's a picture of one of the students, and she's actually in college. She's in the class of 2026. She's 24-year-old Lima. And Lima is working on her bachelor's, and she wants to become a registered nurse. She was formerly homeless, and she was able to get a place to live for her and her baby. And she's so excited because if you look close enough, she got a backpack so that when she goes into school the next fall here, as she comes up, she will have all the things she needs to be successful, to be present with each other, to be present through each other's experiences and challenges. Is to tether trust and hope and love to all. Now, Lisa, she texted me this. She texted me this morning. She said they were really excited to receive the backpacks, these being the kids in that shelter. I have offices in Riverside and all over Blythe who have messaged me to let me know they have kids in need too. She texts this to all of us today. Please thank everyone from the bottom of my heart and from that of the staff to let them know that they made a huge impact. And we have kids going back to school on Monday carrying their backpacks proudly. May I say, there are kids who are going back to school on Monday carrying hope, carrying a future, carrying possibilities. And this happens when churches say we will be present together through our experiences. From Genesis to Exodus, from Galilee to Gaza, and into our own lives, God has shown up for us with the same truth, that the journey includes storms and calm, sinking and worship. And God calls us to be fully present to it all. Sometimes He calms the storm quickly. Sometimes He just holds us steady in the waves. But He never leaves us. The waters may rise, the winds may blow, and the journey may get difficult. But being present to God's presence, whether in the struggle or in the peace, is where our faith grows strong. Where the suffering turns into perseverance, where the perseverance builds the character, and where the character gets soaked deeply in a hope that will never disappoint. God is indeed near and calls us to stay near to each other and to those around. And when we do that good work of being present, not just focus on a future destination where everything is perfect or right, but present in the here and now, through it all, then whether a calmy, balmy sky or stormy, broken storm, we will have the joy that the world cannot give and the peace that passes all understanding. Be well.